first Testimony Tuesday of the year was held at Waynesburg, and a beloved professor had his final curtain call.
Plus, a U.S. Court senior judge was at the Stover Center speaking to students, and severe storms continue to impact the East Coast. All this and more right here on WCTV.
And now, your 5 o'clock news on Channel 14.
Hello and welcome into the Newscast Live at 5. I'm Michael McKenzie.
And I'm Logan Lepiscopo.
Waynesburg University's Goodwin Performing Arts Center showed the play Blood Brothers. Keegan Robbie tells us a story beyond the play.
Through 24 years, 100 shows, and countless memories, one professor at Waynesburg University has provided the community with great music, laughter, and most importantly, mentorship.
I used to be really introverted, and just working with him has really helped to grow my confidence on stage and off stage, and he's just an amazing person, and I love working with him.
Edward Powers has been at the helm of the Fine Arts Department for just under a quarter century, and his final musical, a heart-wrenching rags-to-riches tale called Blood Brothers.
Next week never arrives around here. I'd be one rich woman if next week ever came.
Blood Brothers is about two twin brothers, Mickey and Eddie, who are separated at birth, that end up becoming friends and eventually finding out their true relationship to one another.
It did have a really powerful message behind it, which I feel like was perfect for a final show, a big send-off, because it's ultimately about life. And I think Eddie did a fantastic job with it.
The Waynesburg University players spent countless hours rehearsing, studying lines, and memorizing music to provide 4 nights of entertainment.
So we did this show in approximately 7 weeks of rehearsal. And I could see strengths on day 1 for the acting.
With 24 years comes hundreds of memories for actors.
Eddie was dead set on going with that scene, however, and one night I stayed behind a little bit extra and I just talked to him about it, and we talked for about an hour, and I feel like we came out of that understanding each other a little bit better.
Spectators.
What I love and what I look forward to and what really sets the show is when he gets up on the stage in the beginning and gives his address to the audience.
And even more for the director.
What do I have as a favorite memory of my 100 shows? I have so many memories.
After his 100th show at the university, Professor Edward Powers has closed his last curtain by sticking to one line.
Theater doesn't become theater until it is seen by an audience. Until an audience comes in here and fills these seats. And then it becomes the theater.
Reporting in Waynesburg, Keegan Robbie, WCTV, Channel 14.
Roberts Chapel hosted students, staff, and faculty to share their personal faith stories. Michael McKenzie has more.
This past Tuesday was the first chapel service since the Easter holiday at Waynesburg University, and it was the first Testimony Tuesday service at Roberts Chapel this year.
Yeah, so Testimony Tuesday is from different departments. Either a faculty member or a student is asked to give their just kind of recap over what Waynesburg has done for them, how it's contributed in their faith life, service, anything that they feel has impacted, and then they get up and share in front of their peers and professors.
One of the speakers at the service was student president and tennis player Ethan Lone. Lone talked about stories of his life and how faith has influenced his journey at Waynesburg University.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute honor. I'm very grateful for Chaplain Sumter, for the opportunity to speak. And I mean, it was great for me personally just to reflect on my faith and how my faith has really transformed in the past 4 years at Waynesburg. So it was definitely a blessing to share that. And again, grateful for Chaplain Sumter for the invitation. Yeah, so I guess there were kind of 3 points of my testimony, a little bit about my background, how my student-athlete journey as a tennis player has, strengthened my faith, and then how my faith will serve as a foundation for my future aspirations. So I reference Proverbs 3:3-6, remaining steadfast in the Lord and trusting His love and faithfulness, and that was kind of the context of the whole talk.
For WCTV, I'm Michael McKenzie.
An honorary alumnus of Waynesburg University and the U.S. Court of Appeals visited campus this past Tuesday. Joey Shirillo has the story.
Tuesday, April 2nd, Waynesburg students and faculty were honored to host Honorary D. Brooks Smith of the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit as senior judge. Hosted by Professor Stratton and the Stover Center, Justice Brooks Smith spoke more on his Waynesburg experience.
This university very kindly gave me an honorary degree 2 years ago, and I've appeared before a few student groups here also in the past. So I've tried to maintain a relationship, especially with Dr. Stratton and his students, because they're a great group of students.
Yeah. Brooks Smith also spoke more on the different opportunities and experiences he hopes to share with the audience and what he hopes they retain from the visit.
The focus of my talk is about the American jury system and its central importance to the American civic order. And I hope that they will understand the centrality of the American jury and of jury service to our democratic values, that what service on a jury really is the democratic process at work in the judicial system and in the justice system. This is where citizens actually come together and have a role, a very important role, a very powerful role.
The judge hopes to make another appearance next year as he enjoys trips and stays while he is in the Waynesburg area. For WCTV, I'm Joe Shirillo.
The upcoming eclipse is bringing back good memories for one Pennsylvania family. Stephanie Stahl sits down with that family.
They go out to fight crime.
Carter Elkins is focused on his toys, not so much on his special delivery that happened 7 years ago during the last solar eclipse. We're with the family hours later at Abington Hospital.
Were you thinking about the eclipse during the delivery?
Honestly, I was not.
Here we are again.
That's why it was a special day when you were born.
Carter was delivered on August 21st, 2017, and now mom Erica Parsons has another new baby.
This is Cora. She was born on March 8th.
No chance here to have two eclipse babies. For Carter's fateful delivery, it happened 6 days late, just as the moon blocked the sun's rays.
He's an eclipse baby, and it should be good luck.
And yes, his parents are still over the moon with their little boy, who's now in first grade.
I think he's like the joy to the family. He brings a lot of laughter, and he definitely is not the shy one. He's like the extrovert of the family.
And he's delighted with the new baby, even though he says he's more of a sports guy.
Baseball.
What else?
I used to do basketball.
At school in Upper Moreland, no favorite subjects yet, but
math is usually my thing.
For the upcoming eclipse, the family is planning on watching without any unexpected interruptions, and Mom is already thinking ahead.
The next one is coming up in like 20-some years, so maybe by that time we'll have a grandchild.
The next total solar eclipse that can be seen from the United States will be in 2044.
The weather is brutal in parts of the U.S. today. The storm system behind recent tornadoes, flooding, and snow is pushing east, leaving behind a path of destruction. People in some parts of Kentucky are homeless after yesterday's tornadoes. Officials are urging drivers anywhere in the storm's wake to beware of downed trees hiding power lines. Today, severe storms are dousing Pennsylvania and parts of surrounding states. Up north, it's a snowy day in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, with a blizzard warning in northern Michigan. 1 week following the collapse of a Baltimore bridge, multiple major bridges are now at risk.
Plus, more developments have risen in Donald Trump's most recent court case when we come back.
This is So Spice. Cornucopia.
Trying instead of train.
I love this show.
Welcome back to the Newscast Live at 5. The tragic and stunning collapse of Baltimore's Key Bridge last week immediately raised the question, are there other major bridges susceptible to the same kind of disaster? CNN's Pete Montine reports at least one of those bridges is very well known to millions along the East Coast.
Just 20 miles away from the disastrous ship collision that took down Baltimore's Key Bridge, there are new fears that another iconic Maryland bridge may be vulnerable to the same fate. Parts of it stretching more than 300 feet up and 4 miles long between Annapolis and Kent Island is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Multiple experts underscored to CNN that many of the hulking twin-span suspension bridges' concrete pilings and aging piers are too exposed to possible collision.
That's the symbol of the Chesapeake Bay.
Captain Frank Carver showed me the Bay Bridge at close range, its oldest span now 72 years old. The urgent warning from experts is especially pertinent since this bridge is on the very shipping lane that was being used by the MV Dolly. State figures show that each year, 27 million vehicles drive across the Bay Bridge as 11 million tons of cargo sail under it.
Sometimes we do at least 4 times a day, if not sometimes 10 times a day, fishing all around it at the Bay Bridge now.
Right now we're in the center of the shipping lane that leads to the Port of Baltimore, and a CNN analysis found that some of the pilings of this bridge are just as vulnerable to the type of collision that took down the Key Bridge. Engineering professor Adil El-Safti of the University of North Florida says the design could be at risk of collapse if hit by a container ship.
If once a port goes down, then the whole superstructure will go down as well, and it will pull the other parts as well. It's going to have that kind of catastrophic failure.
The tower piers that support the main spans of the Bay Bridge have protective fenders, but El-Safti points out that is where protections end. There are none of the barriers known as dolphins used to blunt the force of an errant ship.
I think that is what we really need to do, is to design and protect. Design better and protect our infrastructure.
The Chesapeake Bay Bridge is operated and maintained by the same agency that oversees the Key Bridge. In a new statement to CNN, the Maryland Transportation Authority says after the Key Bridge collapse, it is, quote, looking at options with the U.S. Coast Guard on the feasibility of increased pier protections for the Bay Bridge and what's possible in the navigation channel. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said no bridge is designed for a direct hit from a ship.
This is a unique circumstance. I do not know of a bridge that has been constructed to withstand a direct impact from a vessel of this size.
I think everybody will definitely be more on guard now, that's for sure.
Captain Frank Carver calls the collapse of the Key Bridge a gut punch.
Thrown a whole new light, something you just didn't realize could ever happen, all that, and it happened. Now you can see it just opened up so many more vulnerabilities all around.
President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump claimed wins in another round of primaries yesterday. CNN's Washington correspondent Julia Benbrook breaks down the key takeaways from Tuesday's primary in the Badger State.
All eyes were on Wisconsin yesterday. Its status as a crucial 2024 presidential battleground means that every vote was scrutinized for deeper meaning or some insight of what's to come in November. And some people there were looking to send a message, with sizable shares of voters casting their ballots for someone or something other than Biden or Trump. Almost any path to victory will run through several swing states, including Wisconsin. Back in 2016, former President Donald Trump secured a win there by fewer than 23,000 votes. And then in 2020, President Joe Biden won by fewer than 21,000 votes.
I came to office determined to uphold the duty that gets us through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history, and we have.
Wisconsin primary voters are now sending both Biden and Trump a message. More than 47,000 Wisconsin Democrats, that's roughly 8% of those who went to the polls, marked uninstructed at the ballot box, largely in protest of Biden's handling of the war in Gaza.
If they won't listen to our calls or our emails or our letters, then they better listen to our votes instead.
Trump also faced pushback as he continues to try and reach more moderate voters.
A vote for Trump is a vote to save Wisconsin, and it's a vote to save your country.
In Wisconsin, more than 76,000 Republicans, that's roughly 13% of those who voted, cast their ballots for his former primary opponent, Nikki Haley. Another former opponent, Ron DeSantis, and uninstructed brought in about 30,000 votes combined. After some time away from the traditional campaign trail, Trump made a couple of key stops yesterday. One in Wisconsin and one in Michigan, another key state in November. Biden made a campaign swing of his own last month, visiting key battleground areas. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
The special counsel handling Donald Trump's classified documents case blasted the judge's approach. Paula Reed has the story.
We very much look forward to presenting our case to a jury of citizens in the Southern District of Florida.
A trial in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case appears highly unlikely to happen before the 2024 election, and special counsel Jack Smith expressing frustration with Judge Eileen Cannon. In a new filing late Tuesday, Smith's team said Cannon had ordered briefings based on a fundamentally flawed legal premise that had no basis in law or fact.
My sincere thanks go to the President for the honor of this nomination.
Prosecutors harshly criticizing the Trump-appointed judge's request for hypothetical jury instructions. She asked both sides to take into account the former president's claim that he had broad authority to take classified documents under the Presidential Records Act.
Whatever documents the president decides to take with him, he has the right to do so. It's an absolute right.
But prosecutors have repeatedly said that law is not relevant because Trump is accused of obstruction and storing highly classified material in a bathroom and other unsecure locations at his Florida estate. Prosecutors also point out that telling a jury that Trump had the authority to take records he wanted from the White House would make it nearly impossible to secure a conviction. Prosecutors insist that legal premise is wrong, and a jury instruction that reflects that premise would distort the trial. But Trump's attorneys, who were also asked to weigh in here, suggested that the judge tell jurors Trump was authorized to possess a category of documents defined as personal records, both during and after his term in office. The idea that classified documents belonged to Trump, Smith's team said, is pure fiction.
I was a trial judge for 37 years. I have never seen an order like this.
Former federal judge Jeremy Fogel says the government will likely appeal.
If she makes that decision and then the case goes to trial and then he's acquitted, as he certainly would be with that instruction, the government has no recourse. There's double jeopardy.
But an appeal will likely further delay the trial, something Trump has been seeking in all his criminal cases. Critics say Cannon is playing right into that strategy. She has yet to decide more than a dozen outstanding issues, including setting a firm date for the trial and how much witness information to keep under seal.
If Trump wins the White House, he will presumably appoint an attorney general who will drop the case against him or use his presidential powers to pardon himself.
University of Iowa basketball player Caitlin Clark received more recognition for her record-breaking season.
The 2024 Jersey Mike's Naismith Trophy for the most outstanding women's college basketball player. Caitlin Clark, University of Iowa.
Clark recently led the Hawkeyes to their second straight Final Four in the women's NCAA tournament. Iowa advanced in the tournament after defeating LSU on Monday. The 22-year-old will now lead the Hawkeyes against UConn this Friday night in the NCAA tournament. If the Hawkeyes win, the team will advance to the championship game for the second year in a row. That's all for national news. When we come back, Haley Ryan will have your business and entertainment update. But first, we step outside with Seth Adams for a quick weather update.
Rain, snow, sun, cloudy, and Wiley's underwater. Mother Nature has been pretty upset with us lately, but let's see in the next upcoming forecast right here on WCTV.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Michael McKenzie, and welcome back to Plead Your Case.
Plead Your Case, Waynesburg University's only national sports debate show.
You see what it said? This is 83 and 104.
If you're a sports fan, this is the show for you. Each week, we cover the most relevant news and hear arguments from all angles.
Tom Brady recently went on the air and said, "I believe there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL."
There's all the hot takes you could ask for.
Mike Tomlin is the most mediocre head coach of all time.
And and fiery back and forths.
No, listen, Bowtie. It's like Foursquare. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
So whether it's on camera or behind the scenes, sit back, relax.
Time to plead your case.
Hello everybody and welcome back into the newscast. I'm Haley Ryan with your business and entertainment update. After a brief Apple outage, its online services are once again accessible for users. Many Apple users were unable to access their favorite apps for a brief period of time on Wednesday. Some of the services affected by the outage included the App Store, Apple TV, Apple Music, and Apple Podcasts. The status page of the Apple system noted an outage for those services that began around 6:30 in the evening Eastern Time. The outage appears to have been resolved about an hour later. The outage comes hours after some Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp users also reported issues with those apps earlier in the day. Chance the Rapper and his wife Kirsten Corley are calling it quits. Both announced that they are divorcing in a joint statement Wednesday. They are also the parents of 2 children, a 7- and 4-year-old. In their statement, the two said, quote, "God has blessed us with 2 beautiful daughters who we will continue to raise together." Chance originally met Kirsten Corley when he was 9 years old, and Corley was performing a Destiny's Child song at his mother's office party. Millions of Americans are expected to travel to see the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Cities and towns along the route of totality are expecting big crowds. While the boost in visitors is good for local economies, Jen Sullivan has some safety tips and warnings for travelers in today's Consumer Watch.
You really need to plan ahead and be safe. In a very rural area, you're talking about wilderness with no cell service. It could trigger wildlife to be out and about.
Kanye West is in the news again, this time over an accusation of discrimination. A former employee of West has accused the hip-hop mogul of both discrimination and retaliation. Trevor Phillips made the allegations in a lawsuit filed Tuesday against the rapper. The suit also names the controversial artist Yeezy Company and his Los Angeles-based K-12 Christian private school, Dunda Academy. Phillips accuses West of treating the black staff considerably worse than white employees, calling the discrimination severe. He says West would scream and berate black employees while sparing the white staff of such treatment. Phillips, who is black, said he felt targeted and was threatened with physical violence. A representative for West did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Today in entertainment news, Taylor Swift joins an exclusive club, Jake Gyllenhaal makes a deal, and a Hollywood classic returns to theaters. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
Taylor Swift has joined the Forbes World's Billionaires list, one of 14 celebrities in the magazine's latest tally. Forbes says her achievement is particularly noteworthy. She's the first musician to become a billionaire, 1.1 billion actually, solely from music and performance earnings. George Lucas leads the celeb list with a net worth of $5.5 billion. Fellow director Steven Spielberg is second at $4.8 billion.
I just slapped you. Are you all right? What?
Jake Gyllenhaal is set to do more business with his Roadhouse studio. His production company, 9 Stories, has signed a 3-year first-look film deal with Amazon MGM Studios, which also released Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, starring Gyllenhaal last year.
Who's there? That's Red Butterfly. Sir, you are no gentleman.
And you, miss, are no lady.
Gone with the Wind is back in theaters for its 85th anniversary. The Oscar-winning 4-hour epic starring Vivien Leigh and Clark Gable returns to the big screen for 3 nights only, Sunday, April 7th, Monday, April 8th, and Wednesday, April 10th. Check fathomevents.com for locations and showtimes. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That is going to do it for your business and entertainment update. I'm Haley Ryan. Up next is Joey Cirillo with your sports report.
Sports information and athletic communication majors here at Waynesburg University take on the responsibilities of the pros. As a sports information athletic communication major, you'll take on tasks such as talking to coaches, public address announcing, tracking and spotting live stats, as well as running those stats to the TV and radio announcers and keeping the crowd occupied with the live video board. We have alum currently working for the Washington Wild Things, Akron Rubber Ducks, the Miami Dolphins, and numerous Division I programs. So what are you waiting for? Come here and join us at WU.
Welcome back into the newscast. I'm Joey Cirillo with your sports update. This week, Waynesburg sports has been filled with postponements after the fields of lacrosse, baseball, and softball all experienced flooding. With this, some scheduling changes have been made as of yesterday. Baseball will now play at Chatham for a single 9-inning contest this Friday at 7:30, and then Waynesburg will host the second contest at a later date to be named. Their Franciscan doubleheader that was for today has been moved to next Wednesday with a first pitch time at 1 p.m. Softball has rescheduled their non-conference matchup against Hiram for April 14th, and for competitions between LaRoche and Denison are to be determined. This weekend's doubleheader for Washington and Jefferson has also been moved to April 9th. For women's lacrosse, last night's scheduled matchup against Chatham was postponed to a later date that has not yet been determined. And as for Saturday's conference play against St. Vincent, which was scheduled for a home game, will now be away in Latrobe with a 1 p.m. start. In hopes that there are no other changes made, the remaining schedule for this week's spring sports looks like this. For baseball, Bethany will travel to Waynesburg for a doubleheader this Saturday at 1 p.m. Westminster will host Waynesburg for a doubleheader this coming Tuesday at 1 p.m. Moving to softball, Franciscan will visit Waynesburg for a doubleheader on Sunday with a start time at 2 p.m. And then the previously mentioned Washington and Jefferson matchup on Tuesday, and then to Bethany, a doubleheader here in Waynesburg 1 week from today. For the men's and women's outdoor track and field competitors, they will join the Dave Labor Invitational at Slippery Rock this Saturday. This is one of the biggest meets scheduled for this year. And finally, for women's lacrosse, John F. Wiley will be hosting Grove City next Tuesday. For Pittsburgh Panthers sports, baseball will host a series against Georgia Tech over the course of the weekend. They are currently sitting at a 12-13 record with a 2-10 within the ACC. Panthers softball at a 9-24 overall record with a 1-11 in the ACC will travel to face Boston College for a series this weekend. For West Virginia baseball, they will be traveling to Kansas for a weekend series and then a single match this coming Wednesday against Marshall. And for professional sports in Pittsburgh, the Pirates received their first loss of the season last night against the Nationals 5-3, and currently they are in the last game of the series against the Nationals and are not under a rain delay anymore. They started at 5:15, and currently it is 2-0 with bases loaded. According to the Nationals X page, the start time was scheduled for 5:15, and now they're underway. And for the Penguins, they're making a final push for the playoffs as they will face off against the Capitals tonight at 7 p.m. They sit in the 6th spot of the Metropolitan Division and are 3 points out of the wild card race. That's going to do it all for your sports. Coming up is Seth Adams with your weather.
Welcome to the Eberly Library, where you can find out everything about anything on campus. Through the double doors, you'll enter a world of knowledge and academic resources. These include the Knox Learning Center, where the Disability Services Office and testing centers are located, and the Writing Center, where students can work directly with our tutors in order to hone their essay skills and get easy A's. And now, to the print collection, which houses over 75,000 books spanning across all 3 of our floors. And if you're looking for truly a peaceful place to read, we also have the Stover Center for Constitutional Studies, with various nooks and crannies for students to hide away in with a good book. And if you need us to print out something for your next class, head on to the 3rd floor at the Eberly Library.
Hi, I'm Seth Adams, and here is your weekly weather update. Waynesburg has been underwater, you could say, the last couple of days, but I finally think we're going to reach that last stretch of rainy weather this season. It has snowed, rained, you name it. It's happened in the last 24 hours here at Waynesburg. But we did, in the afternoon, reach that high of 45, and we'll reach a low of mid-30s into the night. Tomorrow will be similar with another chance of snow around 7 a.m. and rain later in the afternoon, and we will reach a high of 42 and low of 33. This weekend we will see a chilly Saturday and reach a high of 47 and cloudy and low of 30. Sunday the warmer weather will start to come back and we will see a high of 56 and partly cloudy and reach a low of 30 once again. Monday it will increase again to reach that high of 62 with an overcast and low of 40. Tuesday will be a warm 67 and partly cloudy and reach a low of 41. Finally, Wednesday will hit the 70 mark and reach a low of 44. And by the time Joey just did his spiel real quick, the Bucks are now up 4-0. That's all I got for you guys. Back over to the desk.
Love it. Thank you, Seth. And I'll tell you what, anybody going to that Pirates home opener tomorrow, you're bundling up for a football game. You got to get the hoodie, the compression shirt, maybe the tights, everything, and then put the jersey over top of it. It's not April weather that you would like to see, Logan.
No, the Punxsutawney Phil, I would like to say, is a fraud this year. I mean, are we serious right now?
I won't say that much, but that'll do it for the Newscast Live at 5. Thank you for tuning in. For everybody on the desk and behind the scenes, thank you for watching.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.